One of the things that I hope that I've communicated this year when it comes to Moldova is that it is a transitional country that's still struggling with itself, whether it's the issue of Romanian versus Russian in the languages, or their school systems, the way they're set up, or their different views of history, or their economic system, how they're struggling to get all of that, trying to orient toward the West while still pulled by Russia. Transnistria is another example. I hope that I've communicated that struggle. Late April, early May just brings that struggle right out into the open. What you're looking at here in this first slide is a statue of Lenin, obviously one of the architects of the former Soviet Union. And this is right after his birthday. They celebrated his birthday in late April, I believe it was April 22nd. This statue used to be in the very center of town. They didn't get rid of it altogether. Like in Ukraine, most cities in Ukraine broke them down, destroyed them, hid them. Here in Moldova, in the capital of Moldova, they've moved this to a less obvious place in a park, but still it's a place where people can come on his birthday and, as you see here, put flowers. As someone said to me, Lenin still lives in the hearts of many of the older people in Moldova. May 1st, May Day, has always been, in the former Soviet Union and actually in much of the world, a day where workers are celebrated. Of course, there's nothing wrong with celebrating organized labor, but in communist ideology, the idea is that the workers overthrow the ruling class and take over the government. So it's an anti-democratic notion. On May 1st, there's a number of celebrations. Here's one of them that we're looking at, the beginning of it. They do dancing, singing. This is before the celebration actually started. As you can see, there are a number of people milling around. Lots of flags. Actually, each of those flags that you see there are from various political parties. There's actually some flags from the Soviet Union there, and I'll show you that later in a different picture. Here you see the man with the white hair in front. You may recognize him from earlier pictures. That's President Voronin of the Republic of Moldova. And then there was more singing and dancing. Right across the street from this at the time, there were military vehicles, guns, kids were playing with all kinds of stuff. In reality, it's somewhat equivalent to our Labor Day. Lots of family picnics, lots of fun, some speeches, and then people move on to do things with their families. May 9th has a more military flavor. May 9th is actually when they celebrate the Soviet victory in World War II. It's essentially the end of their World War II, because obviously they were part of the Soviet Union at that point. There's actually two main areas of celebration. The first one, right downtown near the government building. You've seen these pictures before of this. This is a statue of Stephen Salmare, who's a big hero in Moldova. In order to honor him and all the soldiers who fought in World War II, dignitaries come here. This is first thing in the morning. They come here. As you see, first there's the president, and then there's religious leaders. Then after that, they allow the people themselves to move forward and to place wreaths and things at the base of the statue. And then the ceremonies move out to the military cemetery, which was built during the Soviet Union, primarily to honor those who fought and died in World War II. The Soviet Union lost millions of people in World War II. If you know the history of World War II at all, Hitler and Germany and the Soviet Union clashed. It was a terrible situation. It's always in the minds of older people in the Soviet Union how they helped fight back Hitler. So you see there the large tent-shaped thing. Underneath, as you can see in this picture, in the center of that is their eternal flame, which is kept always going in honor of the soldiers. I mentioned earlier Soviet flags flying. If you look closely, you'll see that those are former Soviet flags. They have the hammer and sickle and star in the upper left-hand corner. They are not Soviet flags, interestingly, from the Republic of Moldavia, which was what Moldova was called when it was part of the Soviet Union. The Moldavian flag during the Soviet Union had the hammer and sickle and was red like that. but had a green stripe through the center of it. So as you've seen, at both their May Day celebrations for workers and now at their military celebrations, there are still people flying Soviet flags. And here you see this last picture is obviously an elderly gentleman who was a soldier during World War II, I'm sure, and all of his medals. Since the fall of the Soviet Union, this obviously Christian monument was placed in this cemetery. As you can see, it's a depiction of Mary and Jesus. Around the outside of this park, there are a series of bas-relief flat sculptures, I guess you could call them, depicting World War II essentially from the beginning, as you can see here, where people are living normal lives but obviously upset about what's going on, forced into war, soldiers go off to war, soldiers fight the war, and then here at the end in 1945, the Soviets have defended their homeland against German aggression, against Hitler's aggression, and happy. You can see the sunshine in the background and the little child. And then their day of celebration ends downtown by the government building, where we've seen so many celebrations this year with the hammer and sickle of the Soviet Union. I actually believe that's a medal that they gave anybody who served in World War II, is what that's a depiction of on the back wall there. As you can see, there were ballet, there was music. It was like a 4-hour festival downtown celebrating their victory in World War II. So as I said, many of the older people and even many of the younger people, as you can see, their history is so tied with Russia, so tied with the Soviet Union, that it's going to be a difficult transition for them. It has proved to be so, and I think we're going to keep seeing that in the future. You'll also see some of that in the readings that I've put in this week's section that talk about Transnistria, that talk about the difficulties that people in Moldova is having transitioning from the Soviet Union into a more Western way of thinking and living. So I hope you enjoy this week, and feel free to come out to the forums and tell us what you think.